Hello and welcome to the walkthrough for my 11th Secure Core View Challenge, which is a bit of an interesting one because here the vulnerability is not in the API itself, but it's in the Nginx configuration. So basically, the goal of this challenge is to find a way to access the admin endpoint. So we want to be able to see that string, admin area access, but of course, we don't want to access that API directly, but we want to be able to see that through the Nginx server. So if we take a look at the Nginx configuration, we can see that there is a location /admin, right? And if that /admin is hit, then we simply gotta deny it, meaning if you're trying to access /admin, the Nginx is gonna be like, no, that's not gonna happen. And for every other route, we're just gonna pass you to the Docker internal host port 5000, meaning this is where our Flask API is running, right? As always, or most of the time, you can simply launch the whole challenge by running Docker Compose up. And now if we take a look at our web browser, we can see localhost 5000 returns hello world. So localhost 5000 simply talks to our Flask API directly. And if we go to /admin here, we can see that it's working. But this is, of course, not what we want. That would be cheating. So instead, what we want is, and that API wouldn't be exposed in a real world scenario, right? So what we want instead is for you to access /admin via the Nginx server, right? So you want you to go to localhost 80, and this is still working. This still goes to hello world. But if we go to /admin on the Nginx server, we get a 403 forbidden, which is because of that part here, right? Because of that deny all. So let me make a bit of space here, just so that it's a bit cleaner. And now you're probably wondering, this all looks pretty innocuous, right? What could have gone wrong here? And this is path normalization, right? So this is one of my favorite vulnerability classes, and I actually found that exact same vulnerability a couple of times in real-world pen tests already. So how can this be exploited? So let's take a look at these side by side. So the only way to access this part here via the Nginx server is if we confuse the Flask API and the Nginx server. So we need to find a way to talk to the Nginx server so that it thinks we're not trying to access /admin, whereas the Flask API thinks we are trying to access /admin. So we want to have a request that doesn't go to this one, but goes to this one, meaning it is passed to the Flask API. But then Flask still thinks that it's /admin. And stay with me here. I'm gonna show you right now how we're gonna do that. The answer for that is special characters. But let's take a step back first. So when we're going to localhost /admin, then, and localhost, again, this is localhost 80, which is our Nginx server, right? And now we're going to /admin, and Nginx sees that, and now /admin is this, and does deny all. And say we're going to /admin, then Nginx thinks, okay, this isn't /admin. So I'm going here, I'm gonna pass this to the Docker container, meaning the Flask API. And Flask is like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. So it's not gonna send anything back. It's gonna give you a 404, right? So let's get rid of this. And let's say we're going to admin exclamation mark. And that's not gonna work, right? I'm just talking hypothetically because the real solution is a bit weirder and I wanna simplify it first. So let's say that if you're going to admin exclamation mark, say that Nginx thinks that the exclamation mark is a part of the URL path. And if it thinks that, then it won't go to this one because it thinks you're not going to admin, you're going to admin exclamation mark. So it will pass it to the Flask API. And let's say at the same time, Flask is implemented in a way that it thinks exclamation mark, that's that's not going to be part of the URL path ever. So I'm just going to ignore that. And in that scenario, then Flask would normalize this to /admin, and you would get admin area accessed. And this is exactly what we're going to exploit, just not with exclamation mark, but with some really weird special characters. So we are going to find a confusion where Nginx thinks this is part of the URL path. So it's not /admin, but Flask like, what are you talking about? This is not a valid URL path character. Of course this is /admin. All right, let's go into Web Suite. And we want to use this one, localhost 80, which is our Nginx server. And let's try to go to /admin. And this gives us a for free, of course, because again, we're hitting that configuration that says deny all. And now we need to do something really weird. We need to send some really weird special characters to Nginx. And again, this is not my work now. This is some research that other people have done. So again, we need to find a special character where Nginx thinks, okay, this is part of the URL path, so I'm not gonna think this is admin anymore. And then Flask normalizes this, thinking this weird special character is never gonna be part of the URL path, and then thinks this is /admin. And one of these weird characters is \x85. And basically this one here, right? But that's not gonna work because we need to send the actual character, right? So the way I always do this is just put in, for example, A or whatever, and then I just change the hex code to what I want. So in this case, I want 85, and then apply the changes. And now we are gonna talk to Nginx 80 /admin and this weird thingy here. And now where we see admin area accessed. And, and the reason this is working is because if we go back to the code, then this weird \x85, this weird hex85 character, and Nginx is like, this is not part of the URL. So, sorry, and Nginx thinks like this is part of the URL. So it thinks you're no longer going to /admin, but you're going to something else, /admin weird hex character. And it passes you to the Flask API. And Flask is like, this is a weird hex character. It's not part of the URL, it just normalizes it away and goes to /admin. And this is why we can access /admin despite this deny rule just here. All right, so now that we know how to exploit this path normalization bypass, let's talk about how to fix it. And to fix it, we need to do just a small change here. We need to change this part here to that. And let me also, if I forget it, get rid of this here. And now what's happening here? So that's really weird Nginx-ish for find in a case insensitive way, which is potentially important for Windows servers, find any path that starts with /admin. So now it's gonna block /admin. It's gonna block admin/plop. It's gonna block admin weird hex character thingy. It's gonna block everything that starts with /admin. And that means now we can no longer do that kind of path normalization confusion. And now I'm gonna pause the recording real quick, and I'm gonna rerun this whole challenge with this secure configuration, just to show you that I'm not lying to you. Okay, so we've now redeployed the whole challenge with the secure configuration. And now let's go back into burp. And now if we go to /admin, let's just go to /admin first. It's still not gonna work. It still gives us a for free. But what we had before, this weird /admin 85 hex character thingy, is now hopefully no longer work as well, and it isn't working. So yeah, so this is how we can remediate the path normalization vulnerability here. Yeah, and that's all I have to say for today. So thanks so much for watching this, and if you like this kind of content, and you want to talk about secure code review with other like-minded people, consider joining the LeoTrace community at community.leo-trace.com. And also, if you need a pen test, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. So what we're doing at LeoTrace is a bit of a different approach when it comes to pen testing. And we don't just want to do a normal pen test and throw a PDF report over the fence, but instead we want to help your developers fix vulnerabilities. So I'm going to use everything I know about secure code review, which is a bit, and I'm going to help your developers to actually fix vulnerabilities after I've done the pen test. And if that resonates with you, yeah, just ping me. Feel free to reach out to me. And that's all I got for today. So thanks so much for watching. Bye bye.